Hello to my friends out there in YouTube and Facebook land. It's Dr. Laura Mock here again today, and I am here to talk to you today about one of my favorite subjects, rejection. It's so fun. Um, I'm going to cover a couple of housekeeping things first, and then we'll dive right into our topic. Have you guys checked out my website yet? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty proud that I made it myself. I've never made a website before. And you can get a lot of information on there about how I coach, and also there's some free materials on there. And it's a nice repository for finding my old videos as well. So check it out. It's just called the Life Coach for BusyDentist.com, and I'll throw a link into the notes of my video. I'd love to hear your feedback on it, since, as you know, I did it homemade. So it's first time I did that. Let me know if you think I need to improve it, or if you have a compliment for me, I would take that as well. So, and I just wanted to let you know that free coaching is still available. It won't last for forever. In fact, it's not going to last that much longer. So if you have been thinking about reaching out to me, I just have a question for you. What have you got to lose? Give it a try. It doesn't cost anything right now, and later it will. You know, if you've been listening to me and thinking, I wonder if maybe she'd be a good person to talk to about this thing that's been going through my mind, the answer is yes. I am an extremely good listener, and I would love to hear what you have to say and help you frame it. And you wouldn't be the only person who's reached out to me. I've coached many people in the last few months since I got my videos started. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. The easiest way to get to me is by email or Facebook Messenger. Those are super easy. You can do the contact me on my website, but I have to be honest, since I just started that website, nobody's actually used that yet, so I don't know if it works. Anyway, yeah, if you want to let me know if you tried it and it didn't work, I would appreciate that. So let's get right into our topic here. We're talking about rejection today. And I just want to point out that a lot of the concepts that I'm going to discuss today originated from my life coach, Brooke Castillo. So if you want to hear more about what she has to say about rejection, she has her own podcast, and it's called the Life Coach School podcast, the Life Coach School. Okay. So let's talk about rejection in a mom dentist's life. Well, first of all, we've got potential rejection from our patients. Have you ever had a patient that you really like leave your practice? Ouch. Or a patient that you really like that you've spent hours stuck talking to them about maybe full mouth reconstruction or some other big procedure, and you've put a lot of time and thought into why it would benefit this person and answering all their questions, and then they go get a second opinion and you don't hear from them again. That doesn't feel so great either. Or someone who didn't like the news that you gave them. Maybe you told them that they had gum disease, or that their tooth wasn't savable, or something like that. Maybe you don't know why the patient left your practice. And that actually can be even more painful, because then you start telling yourself reasons why they might have done that. And those self-populated sentences can be pretty hard on yourself. Here's another one that I've experienced before, and this one sucks. When I have an employee that I really like who quits. That's hard. That one makes you feel like you're getting dumped. Raise your hand if that's happened to you. It's happened to me a couple of times. And usually I'm in a slump for a month or two after I find out someone's leaving the practice. How about this one? I feel like this one happens a lot to mom dentists. We don't feel like we're a part of the groups of moms within our community. So maybe the moms of our kids, sports teams or PTA, volunteering, stuff like that. It can be hard to feel like you're a part of that group when you're a dentist. And there's many reasons why that is. I'm not going to get into them today, but if you are that person who's feeling rejected by the community of moms around you, you are definitely not alone. Side note, when I started my career, I was pretty lonely, and I gotta say, as I got out and I did more CE and I connected with more female dentists, I have found most of my very best friends. My Not all of my best friends are female dentists, but I am not lonely anymore, and most of it's because of you guys, because you're awesome. Why does rejection hurt anyway? So I just want to make a list of some animals, and you can tell me what you think they have in common. Wolves, dolphins, whales, chimpanzees. I could probably go on. Do these animals do well if they are living by themselves? And I already know you know the answer. The answer is no. If they get separated from their group, they're probably going to die unless they can find another group of animals to be with. And honestly, humans are the same. We are innately very social. And historically, we're basically like pack animals, and we needed to be accepted by the group in order to survive. So if you think about that rejection, that icky feeling that you experience when you find out that you've been rejected by someone, attributing it to your evolutionary programming can be really helpful for just kind of putting that feeling into its perspective. And these days, we don't have to be accepted by everyone in order to survive. But we still feel that pang, that painful feeling. So my advice to you, as far as how to deal with this, is to learn to live with the feeling of rejection, because fear of feeling rejection can really get in the way of moving towards many of our goals. For example, going back to that patient that you recommended full mouth reconstruction for. And first of all, you and I both know you're not recommending that unless you really feel like the patient is going to be better off if they get full mouth reconstruction, or whatever it is that you're suggesting to them. That's a big investment. I forgot where I was at. Just a sec. If you are too afraid of feeling rejected, are you going to have the courage to say, Mrs. Jones, you've been my patient for 5 years, and I'm looking at things and I'm seeing stuff deteriorate, and I want to talk to you about fixing everything. That's a hard thing to say. And you have to face the fact that if you say that to Mrs. Jones, maybe Mrs. Jones ain't coming back. And that doesn't feel so good. But if we don't say it, then we have already what Brooke Castillo calls pre-failed. We've already set ourselves up for failing, because we're definitely not doing full mouth reconstruction on Mrs. Jones if we don't tell her that she would benefit from it. Getting comfy with the feeling of rejection is kind of a tricky thing, because most of us prefer to just feel positive emotions. But I'm here to tell you that sometimes it's useful to feel something negative like rejection. So I want you to think of a time when you felt rejection. Make sure it's one that really sucked. Maybe you got dumped, or a patient left, something like that. And write down what actually that felt like. And then ask yourself if you could feel that again. Or what would be the worst thing if you were going to feel that emotion again? And this is where you find out that actually feeling the emotion of rejection isn't as bad as you thought. As in, yes, it sucks to feel it, but does it suck so bad that you're going to let the fear of feeling it stop you from achieving your goals? Sometimes when we feel that feeling of rejection, we're telling ourselves sentences in our head that aren't necessarily true. It's that auto-population that happens in the backs of our brains. Things like, oh, this is a good one. Back when I was dating 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, I got really fit. It was the first time that I was fit in my whole life, because I grew up eating like day old donuts and, well, anyway, That's another story, but I got really fit. I worked out with a personal trainer twice a week. My body fat was ideal, but my arms were still kind of flabby from I had large arms my whole life, and then the skin gets a little loose. And I actually told myself a couple of times when men weren't interested in me that it was probably because of my arms. Okay, now that was a thought error, and it would have been really handy to be able to know how to identify thought errors back then. But it wasn't because my arms were flabby still that those guys weren't interested in me. It's because we weren't a good fit, and it was fine. I ended up with somebody better anyway. So anyway, being able to identify the thought errors when you are feeling rejected is another thing that you got to get good at if you're going to get comfy with rejection. And are there any upsides to opening yourself up to that feeling of rejection? I know you know that there are. The fear of this silly emotion is the number one thing that prevents many of us from getting out there and chasing our big, hairy goals. So if you can think of any upsides to being open to the feeling of rejection, I would love to hear what your upsides are. You can make a comment on YouTube, and I will tell you this is something that I've learned. You have to be on a desktop computer to make a comment on YouTube. I have no idea why that's a thing, but if you want to make a YouTube comment, you got to be on your computer, not your phone. And then you can also make a comment on Facebook, or you can just send me a private message, and let me know what you found was the upside to facing your fear of feeling rejection. And it has been a pleasure to make this video for you. I can't wait to hear from you. And don't forget, coaching, not always going to be free anymore. So reach out and get your free stuff while you still can. Thanks, everyone.